Hello and welcome to the Core 4 Show. I'm Coach Brandon Adams, and I'm here to talk to you about what Core 4 is all about. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm having a little technical difficulties over here, but hopefully it will work itself out. So, first, let's talk a little bit about what is Core 4. Core 4 has four major components. The first component is being able to understand that we are working on our mindset. The second component, which of course is super important, is to understand specifically about how investments work. And then third would be how our retirement works. And then fourth is how to get rid of your 9 to 5. Now, a lot of us are asking the question, well, what do you get when you join Core 4? Number one, it costs $50. And what does that $50 include? It includes access at a discount to all of the coaches that we have available to us that are working with Core 4 present and in the future. Some people ask, well, will the cost of Core 4 change? And the answer to that is it hopefully will. But the goal is for us to make money first. And if we can make money, then we can start working through other issues. And as a community, that is so important that we work together, we understand exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and exactly how we're doing it. So let's learn a little bit about what that means. So the first thing that we have to learn is that we have to deal with what is the Core 4 cast, right? Like, what is that? What it is basically where we have two of the smartest minds in the finance world. And they come to us weekly to be able to share with us what's going on in the market, centralized marketplace, and how you can get involved and understand exactly how you can make money for yourself. Now, if you would like to work with them, you absolutely can work with them. And that's the beauty. They are available. They have Streamwise Capital. They also have insurance. They have lots of different things that are going to help us to understand how we can use insurance instead of as a death benefit, as an investment tool for our future. So the exciting part about all of this is that when you start to take a look at what Core 4 can offer, it's offering you discounts. So just to give you an example, and we could talk about it later, you have Eric Majors. His course costs $2,900 or $2,600 if you were to contact him directly, but through us, it's $650. And so you get all the same benefits, but by being a Core 4 member, it gives you access to things at a different price. Number two, which is even more important, is we also have binary options. And binary options is changing. We got some exciting things that are going to happen in binary options, but it's not like any of it's better or worse. It's the idea that it might be considered a little better because you're paying less money than you would normally, right? So it's $750 for binary options, and you're able to get it for $500. So you're saving money by being a member of Core 4, and there are so many more opportunities that we are looking to bring to you that are real world opportunities to help you to get from where you are to where you want to be. So that's what Core 4 is. And so what you're paying for is an opportunity to buy a discount, just like you would if you had a Costco membership or a Sam's Club or a BJ's or wherever else you would go to have a discount. But the idea is that you're not paying a lot so that you can purchase these courses or get access to the relationships that you could have with Chris and James at a significantly reduced price. So I wanted to make sure I open the show so that people can understand at least what is it that you're getting when you become a member of Core 4. In addition, you have a community of people that are all thriving and striving to get to a common goal. And that should be economic freedom as fast as we possibly can so we can live our lives to the fullest. So without further ado, I want to bring on a superstar and a good friend of mine in Chris Pulver. Hold on one second, guys, because here he is. Chris.
Hey, Brandon. How we
Hey,
doing?
good, good, good. Just having some technical difficulties over here. I'm going to jump off. You jump on. I'll see you shortly.
All right, sounds good. Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Core Forecast. You're looking at the SPX right here. We have continued this pullback in an interesting fashion. So This week is going to be a big week ahead. We have over 1,200 companies reporting earnings. The last 2 weeks, the big companies that have really carried the market and kind of kept this, this low in place. We've had higher low and higher low. What's kept that in place has been uh, better announcements and more optimism from Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Obviously, those sound like familiar names because that's your mega cap. That's your top 3, 4, 5 companies in the world that have had pretty solid earnings. Apple announced a huge buyback program this week, which the market was super excited about, and that was actually Thursday after market. And so Friday's open was massively up. So I mean, price honestly, it didn't do much outside of gap higher and sit, gap lower and sit. And so the one thing I'm interested in coming into this next week with over 1,200 companies reported earnings is we still have the structure for this. So this is a high to low swing. We've had a pullback, a pullback, a pullback. Now we're running right into that level where there was a floor. This is a floor that would then become and offer some resistance this week. Now, two ways this can go, and obviously this isn't great for, well, it can go up or down, but that's really the fact of this week. I do think that the bulls are going to have a hard time justifying higher highs unless there is a tremendous amount of consensus that earnings are solid, forward guidance is positive. Powell's this week for the FOMC on Wednesday, and he really tried to shoot down the stagflation talks. He's really data dependent. The Fed is in unison right now with their approach. The market has done a pretty tremendous job going from what they thought would be 6 or 7 rate cuts in 2024 to now the reality being maybe one, maybe zero, and that's still unsure until we get into maybe September, November later this year. But for right now, the Fed is likely going to pause all summer long. And if there's any activity in cutting rates and getting into a cut cycle, it's probably coming during the election. The one thing that everyone keeps overlooking is yes, the Fed and monetary policy is important, but it's also fiscal policy. Our government is spending record amounts of money that also work hand in hand with monetary policy. So the fact that our economy is showing resiliency, the job market, we had an interesting print on Friday. I know James will talk about this a little bit more in detail. But we actually had kind of this what I call Goldilocks print, where we had a slight softening in the market for the labor print. We had a slight uptick in unemployment, so it went from 3.8 to 3.9. We also had a miss by 0.1% in average hourly earnings. So is that exactly what the Fed wants? Sure. Is that going to get the market all excited? I don't know. With 1,200 companies reporting earnings this week, this is what I'm looking at. I think that the structure with this severe sell-off is enough that we could really see this resistance. So this would be support here, being resistance for the week. I could see a lot of indecision happening this week. Now, to me, the first thing I think of is this gap. Okay, so right here, this is the gap that we had from Thursday's close to Friday's open. You can see that Friday established a range right here from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. and it didn't go anywhere. So we had this huge gap up. It was essentially a 1+% move for the day, and price went nowhere for the rest of the day. Now, it would make sense technically that if we're at a level of resistance, that this market tries to fill this gap and offer it some support over the next couple of days, weeks, and see if we have a gap higher. So I'll be playing it pretty neutral this week. Last week was still a good week overall. Made some money in Forex. Had a lot of pips in Forex, actually, with some automation. Stocks and options. I wasn't super active last week. I have more expirations on the cycle of May 17th, but I had several trades gain in SPX, SPY, NDX, SMC. I was an earnings play. I had previous week's earnings on PayPal and Capital One. I took small losses on those. Ended up taking like a couple of dollars off of what I paid for the debits, but ended up instead of going to zero for those expirations, I saved myself $1 or $2 of total risk, and then having some solid gains on the indexes this week. So Bitcoin also came back in a pretty big way, which is nice to see. So I'll go back to this chart here. So SPX and the NDX, I'll be watching very closely this week. Watch for the resistance. Okay. So we have support right here. We're just above it. We have support right here. We're right in that same window with that big Apple gap on Thursday to Friday. If the market stumbles a little bit on a Monday, which would make some sense, or even if we come back and fill the gap on Monday or Tuesday, we're going to see where the majority of earnings come in this week and see how they print. So speaking of earnings, most of it's going to come in the meat of the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you can see 337, 385, and 340. So most of the earnings coming in this week. Some notables concluded right here. I'm just taking a look for the first time. Some big ones that I want to take a look at. Disney would be interesting to see what they're doing. Lyft, your Uber competitor, or Rivian had a lift from announcements of Tesla last couple of weeks. Shopify would be a big one. Uber as well. Let's see here, Airbnb. See what the travel, tourism, leisure industry looks like. I don't know how many people want to trade AMC. That's so 2021. Anything else? Roblox, maybe, probably not. Marathon, that's a minor for Bitcoin. I'm curious how that does. I think I dumped that position for a small profit. I'm sitting more in the ETFs and some of the Bitcoin holdings as is. And that's about it. So this, like I said, this would be a good example of market breadth. And so what that means is how many stocks. Okay, this is last week's performance in the heat map. What I'm interested to see is how many stocks are going to be back above the 50 period moving average, because right now we have most of them are still below, right? Almost 50 or over 5,100 stocks still below the 50 period moving average. If we get a rise above that, where the majority of stocks are above, maybe a market breadth is returning to the positive side. We'll see if the markets can take that float to the upside. And where to? Just look at all-time highs and see if the market's capable of getting there. So that's my outlook this week in the core forecast. I mean, it's going to be wait and see. And those aren't my favorite weeks, but I'll trade accordingly. So essentially, I'm looking to do this. I'll look to sell up here. I'll look to buy down here. I'm not going to get stuck in the trenches too deeply just because I think the market's going to be volatile. We might have some gaps depending on what the earnings chunk looks like for the day. So I'll try to stay out of the way, maybe go out a couple of weeks and play it safe. And then from there, once I have a better sense of direction, then we'll talk about it here in the core forecast and trade accordingly. So that's it, Brandon. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, I hope you guys can hear me okay. So, Chris, as usual, great show. So, James is an incredible gentleman. He's been a great friend of mine. He's a superstar insurance agent. Anybody that wants to have anything answered to them regarding to insurance, as a part of the Core 4 community, Core 4 family, utilize James and learn as much as you can from him, because he has the latest information about how we can take our insurance opportunities in terms of death benefit to investment opportunities to legacy building. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, buddy. I'm doing well. So,
all right, I would jump off. You're on.
All right, sounds good. Well, to start things off, I want to pick up with one of the big themes from Chris there, which is Apple. I was on their earnings call, and one of the things I listened to and wrote down was they've had a barely beat for their beat earnings, but the iPhone miss was offset by services. So Apple credit cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wearables, so your AirPods, and $110 billion of purchasing your own stock. That'll help boost earnings as well. But it was interesting. The iPods, Beats, and all of their wearables continues to grow, which is an amazing thing. Another theme from one of the things Chris said was Disney and Amazon. I'm interested in Disney as well, because on May 2nd, Disney, Amazon, and NBA, the National Basketball Association, they entered into a long-term broadcasting agreement. So Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, that's where you're going to be seeing your NBA games. NBA following the lead of the NFL, so, with Amazon Prime having those Thursday night games. And it's interesting to see more and more of these leagues are going over into streaming. You have F1 doing it. You have Premier League soccer doing it. You have MLS doing it, MLB doing it. So it'll be interesting to see if this trend continues and what that means for major broadcasters, things like Viacom and CBS. Will those begin to really feel the burn of not having so many eyeballs on the screen focused on them when streaming is the way to go? The other key things that we'll talk a little bit about Other key things that we'll talk about regarding the economy, we talked about, and Chris led up to it last week. We had FOMC on Wednesday. Fed held interest rates, indicated that, hey, look, we may have one cut late in the year. But one of the other key sentences he said was that the Fed is not, they do not foresee a need for another rate increase. So saying, hey, look, we've topped it out, and now we're on the descent, and we're just looking for the indicators to tell us when to cut. Well, one of those indicators may be jobs, and non-farm payroll came in quite heavily under what was expected. Average hourly earnings fell. Unemployment rate went down to 3.9%. Now, let me tell you one bright spot here. This is a little kind of, this went under the radar for whatever reason, but I will tell you guys, for me, it was actually quite huge, which is that on, I believe it was the end of the month of April, the Federal Trade Commission voted to prohibit and remove and make it basically, for lack of better terms, a non-compliant illegal activity for a company to enforce a non-compete on you. And that gives more power to the employee, because now employers, like let's say a Google, cannot prevent somebody if they get fired from going to work for a Facebook, an Amazon, a Netflix, a Ford Motor Company, and so on and so forth. So one of the key takeaways from that is wages will go up, because in order to keep the top talent, in order to retain the top talent, in order to find the top talent, companies are going to have to start paying top dollar and continually to increase that dollar as for their production. And as they reveal that they are the cream and rise to the top. You know, it's a meritocracy. Just much like in the NBA, there's a reason why LeBron James would make a whole lot more money than James Bishop in the NBA, right? Just like why Tiger Woods and it would make more money than anybody these days if he was in his prime in the 2000s. I think it was said it was made $92 million in a year, which I absolutely am very much for the ending of non-competes, and that comes within 120 days. So I believe that would put it in like June timeframe, June-July timeframe for non-competes to be kaput and done with, and that has been passed and signed in. Coming up this week on today is a bank holiday in Japan, but we did see Japan do some intervening. Shorting the yen was a very popular opportunity, over 600 plus, over 2,800 pips in just 2 days. The yen moved. We have Royal Bank of Australia interest rate decision. I believe they're going to hold rates. Coming up this week, we have Great Britain monetary policy statement. I believe they're going to hold rates. Great Britain's in my opinion, a world of trouble. And then we end the week with consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. I continue to think that inflation will kind of hold off and just stay stagnant for a little bit. And when we see it drop again, it'll drop down into that 2% area as we're looking for, pricing to become, or inflation to drop down into that 2% area. I think, that's it for the major announcements here today or this upcoming week. But thank you all for your time, and thank you, Brandon.
All right, great job. We're going to get you into the gym so we can work on your jumper. I think
I love it. I love it.
You'll be the oldest rookie in the NBA. But
That's it.
All right. So the next thing that we have to, and that is great news. I just heard somebody in chat say great news, and it is great news. So it's going to do so much for the marketplace and how we participate. But just think about it. Just think about what we're bringing to you here on the Core 4 show is really good, relevant information that might help you to make some critical decisions in your own trading, or also in the way that you view financial markets and the economy around the country and also around the world. So great job, team. Let's talk a little bit about what we're doing in Forex. In Forex, the idea is that you guys can become a member, and then we will help you to get the pips that the Ghost Protocol team is getting. And they have actually been sitting on some major pips. And hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of more signals that are coming out, very, very soon. And so those signals will hopefully lead to more opportunities for us, more inventory, and obviously more profits. So for those that are interested, stay tuned, enjoy your profits, enjoy the run. We also have binary options. Binary options cost $500 for right now. There's going to be some major changes, and I'm going to go through the exciting part about it. This week, we've had a tough week, and we're still in some trading. And so ultimately, that's a part of the game. You have to actually have some highs and you actually have to have some lows. And so Coach India is working through those lows. And she's also working on coming up with some significant opportunities for us to be able to grow even more. So not just purchase the course and have the course, but she's going to expand on the course to give you even more options of trading outside of just the OTC. But then in addition to that, there's some new stuff that we're going to be adding as well that you could participate in with Coach India. And so you would have to contact us directly. We don't talk about that on the show. So without further ado, let me bring on Coach India. Coach India, how are you?
I'm well, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing okay. What do you think about James and his jump shot? And you think he's got a chance?
I do. I do. Especially if he gets the coaching from you, I feel like he can do his thing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the fact is you're a Division I basketball player,
Yeah.
and you were one of the top academic students in college,
Yeah.
and so to be able to carry on both with a level of discipline and tenacity is pretty cool. So, talk binary options. The floor is yours. You got a couple minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for the time. So basically, like you mentioned earlier, there are the highs and the lows. And the main thing is that you learn how to pivot and make adjustments. And so this week we did some reevaluations, looked at some things that we can improve on and adding that to the course. So I'm excited about it because it's going to give people more options and opportunities to be successful in the long-term perspective. So that's what I'm most excited about for sure.
Good. And are you seeing, we trade with one particular company that you recommend, Pocket Option. Do you
Mhm.
recommend others? Are you researching other to see if the strategy can work on multiple, if people don't
Yes.
like Pocket Option, or,
Yeah.
so that is a possibility?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of researching the other brokers as well. So, once we finish with that research, we'll reveal what that is, but definitely to give people more options is also.
So it's interesting because I'm getting all these calls during the week. And so they're asking me these questions. And so it's
Mhm.
great to have you on the show. And a lot of people don't realize that, what's important is accountability. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate your accountability to what's going on.
Mhm.
Remember, everybody. So I'm gonna say goodnight, India.
Okay.
So remember, everybody, about binary options. Binary options is gambling with a strategy. So the strategy that Coach India uses that I'm asking her to refine, and then I do a little trading myself. So I'm more than willing to go over and learn, and then offer any little bit of subjective, non-professional advice. So it's probably not taken with anything more than a grain of salt because she is definitely a professional. But I love the idea that, we can talk about things and help them to make sense. Because if they can make sense to this old basketball player, they can make sense to anybody. All right. So bringing on now to the stage, we offer yield farming and liquidity pools. And so we have an amazing, amazing course, and a good friend of mine, Eric Majors, who's come up with this course to be able to help us to make an incredible yield without having to do much. And I don't consider, and he can elaborate on this and give us his opinion, but I don't consider yield farming to be gambling. I consider it to be an investment. And one of the reasons for that, and somebody asked me that the other day, and that's because in yield farming, if there is a movement of price in the liquidity pairs that you're working with, there's an opportunity for it to rebound based on how you've done your analysis. And so it's not over until you make it over, right? And that's what I've noticed. And so there is an opportunity where, it could end up being what we call permanent loss. But the idea is that there's a way for it to go up and go down and go up and go down, and you can participate in these highs and lows. And so I just want to make that very clear to the Core 4 community. So if you're looking for something that is gambling with the strategy, and if you're looking for something that's an investment with the strategy, it's two totally different things, but they also can get you to the exact same place with some real vigor, with something that's active and something that's a little bit more active and passive. So keep on the lookout for that and see how it works for you in the direction that you want to have in your development. So, Eric, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can.
And how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I I went camping on Thursday, and I didn't get to release some new material for my course because I actually got sick on Monday after we had our meeting last week. I got really sick, and then I just recovered in time for our camping trip, thank God. And we just got back from camping about 2 hours ago. So
Okay.
I've had a very productive week in camping and in trading. We did 4% on Orca
Okay.
in 3 days. So since the day I went camping on Thursday till I got back today, um, that's just 3 days. Did 4% on Orca. Did 3.2% on Uniswap.
All right.
So you
Well,
know,
hold on. I've got a dad joke. This is going to be terrible. Did you see any bears and bulls while you were camping?
do we what? I'm sorry. What did you say?
Any bears and bulls for the while you were camping? I didn't know.
Yeah, bears and pools, exactly. Well, that's the beauty of trading the pools is that I don't pay attention. I really don't care. What the cryptos are going up and down. All I know is when I got back here, I did notice some capital gain on some of the pools I was in. So I figured that Bitcoin must have went up and everybody got all excited. But as you were saying before, it really doesn't matter when you're trading in the pools because price can go up and down, and the only thing I care about is maximizing yield. So I'd have to get the market would have to drop 80% for me to really hurt. For me to really hurt because I live off the money I trade, and I could afford for the market to lose 70% and still survive pretty well as long. Yeah.
I mean, so and have you started your? I think it's a twice a month. Have you started that yet? Where
Oh yeah, the calls. I log in there for a few minutes. If nobody's on, then I split usually in about 5 minutes, and um, I have to get more consistent about that. Usually people ping me when they want to have the call, and then I'll join. But I'm going to start just coming on every 2 weeks. Usually I just come on for 5 minutes, and if nobody's there in the room, then I'll leave. When people are there, they usually just report back good news. I haven't heard anybody. They might ask some questions
you go?
or share some pools that they're looking at. A lot of people are going over to the base blockchain. I'm starting to look at that myself, but we're getting ready to launch a fund too, a hedge fund to trade. So a lot of my time is going into that. But the exchanges on base are what we're looking at next. And
Will that be added to the course once you do your evaluation?
yeah, but I'm taking my time with it because the exchanges are relatively new over there, and so I just like them to trade for a few months before I just jump into these exchanges. The base blockchain has been around for a while, but it's just that the exchanges themselves, and a lot of people are having really good experience on those exchanges. One of the good things about it is that people are piling in because of the excitement over the base blockchain. But one of the reasons I haven't worked so hard to do the updates on the Uniswap tools that I was talking about is because Solana came back pretty strong. So you can just pretty much trade Solana, which is the first run up in the course, and just go camping all week like I did and make 1% a day or more. So there's no really reason to get all free. Don't worry about it. You don't really have to know what you're doing. Just do what I tell you to do in the course, and then you'll live your life basically.
Well, I just, the whole thing is, and a lot of times, when people are talking to me about, what Core 4 is all about, they don't understand what the show is. And so I want to always reiterate, this is the opportunity for you guys as a community to get to know Chris, James, India, and Eric, and to know them and kind of understand how they think. And we chit chat a little bit. So you can kind of get a clear view on what you might be getting yourself into, but also just the teamwork that you would have to be able to have someone like Eric who is amazing, India who's amazing, all of the team is amazing, And so that's going to lead into, what our theme and what our topic is of today. So, Eric, thank you. And I will see you next week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
God bless you. Yep.
All right, you too. All right, so now it's game time. What is game time really all about? So I'll give you an example. I coach a group of kids, and I'm also a trainer. So being a trainer and being a coach are two different things. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm a trainer, I'm helping to build skills. If I'm a coach, I'm basically taking the skills of the player and what they are at that particular moment, what they have, and then I'm creating a strategy to be able to go into a game where I can get 5 people to work together to achieve a common goal of scoring on each possession, but also maximizing their skill at the same time, whatever that is at that particular moment. And so throughout the course of a season, then I look at how will I help these kids to improve as a trainer. And so doing so is very, very difficult because at the end of the day, it is extremely hard to know what the emotional and psychological impact is of each kid, right? What they're going through, what they see when they walk through the door, blah, blah, blah. And so, in order to help them to improve, I've got to mix things in, right? And so, what I might mix in is some swimming. I might mix in weightlifting. I might mix in running hills. I might mix in doing just shooting. I might mix in, just sprints, lots of different things. I'm diversifying the opportunity to do what? To become a better basketball player. What are we here at Core 4 doing? We're diversifying to become wealthy. Interesting. So, number one, we have to get better. We have to learn a little bit more about each thing, not just what Core 4 is offering, but each thing in our lives that is making a financial impact on us, whether it's a bill that we're paying, a debt that we have, or whether it's an income opportunity. We have to evaluate it and not be so like someone said, well, I've been a part of a bunch of scams before. Well, it's very interesting because when I first started my show, I wasn't really trying to defend a particular organization or platform. I was just kind of reporting on it, giving an update. And so there was another YouTube channel that decided that they would use that and weaponize what I was saying about doing what? Keeping custody of your funds to make it out as if I was trying to scam people out of their money, not even listening, not even paying attention. And the reason why that's relevant is because you've got a lot of people out here that are trying to scam you. But if you allow for your history to dictate exactly how you're going to let your future look because of what happened to you in the past, you might miss out on some amazing opportunities. So, being able to diversify also protects you with your risk. I'm not ever going to tell you to put 100% risk into any of the things that we offer because I don't. And I don't think that that's the right way to do. I don't do that. I don't just coach the basketball team. I'm going to coach them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to give them different exercises. We also do what's called virtual IQ, where we learn pattern recognition theory while watching the greatest players of the game ever play. And that's what I want you guys to do here. I'm giving you guys pattern recognition. You guys see that we have the core forecast first, we have the core 4 report, then we have game time. And so that's a pattern that's repeating. And once you understand a pattern, you can start to build confidence in that pattern and then your ability to recognize that pattern. And then you can start to apply skills. And isn't that what each coach is trying to do for you, is to help you to apply skills when you recognize a pattern? Let's take Eric, for example. Eric is teaching you how to use Orca. He's also teaching you how to use Uniswap. There's no secret to it. And so that's not like a secret sauce. That's available for anybody to know that that's an exchange that's out there. It's the way he teaches you how to recognize the liquidity pairs that are available and then how to choose which one is right at the right time by recognizing the pattern of time and by the pattern of what it is that you want to accomplish, whether you're trying to use two volatile pairs, whether you're trying to use a volatile and a stable pair, whether you're using a meme coin, whether you're using whatever, and how you react and interplay that interoperability. That's what's important. And so when you're able to recognize the patterns quickly, you're able to engage in a trade and also recognize when the pattern should be done and then to get out, because that's a pattern as well in this case. And so when you diversify amongst binary options, amongst yield farming, amongst insurance, amongst what Chris is doing with Streamwise Capital, what you're doing is you're leveraging your risk. And we actually have an ROI calculator. And so you can look for that. You can contact us, and it's free. And it's called the Core 4 Coefficient, the Core 4 Quadrant, and the Core 4 True Return. And it tells you how much you would want to invest. And we have another couple of products that are possibly going to be coming out that we're going to offer that give you an independence and self-custody of your funds. Because the goal is to identify as many opportunities where you don't have to watch your back. And so looking forward as opposed to focusing on what's behind you, that's tough. Try driving that way. None of us do it. You want to look forward. You peek in the rearview mirror to make sure everything is okay and nothing's coming at you. And then you keep moving forward. And that's what we want you to do here. And so when we look at these scams that we've been a part of, which I've been a part of, and I hated them. And once I realized that that was the industry of those platforms, I stopped. And so instead of me just focusing on what was in the rear view mirror and looking behind me, I looked forward, core forward, to be able to identify a way for us as a community to diversify so that we could become rich. And how do we become rich? We actually have to have a strategy for each by educating ourselves. And each week we come on and we learn from each other and we grow. And so that's what's more important than anything. So when I talk to my athletes about their skill development, they have to go back and then work with other coaches. And how do they apply the skills that they're learning with me? Well, there's a psychological effect. It's the same thing because that coach may not know what those skills are. Or they may have a kid that's 6'1" and 13 years old and belongs in the post according to them. But even if that kid were to grow to be 6'6", like myself, 6'8", 6'9", they're not going to be post players. They may get into post every now and then, but they would typically become a guard, depending on what their hoop dreams are. And so I'm just telling you not to limit yourself. Don't limit yourself and think that you're stuck. I don't have the time to learn anything new. I just want something that's completely passive and that's it. Why? Why would you want something completely passive? Yes, you don't have anything to do, but be willing to check on it. Be willing to engage with it. So there, yes, are passive opportunity plays, but at least learn what those are. And when you see that there's changes in the patterns of whatever it is that passive opportunity is, question that and make sure that whatever you invested your money in, if that's what you decide to do, make sure that whatever that is doing the right thing for yourself by minding your own business. And so I'm not trying to tell you anything that you don't already know. What I'm trying to do is expound on what it is that you know so that you can provide some details so that your tomorrow looks different from today. Diversification is critical. You don't put all of your eggs in one basket, but also make sure you know what the basket is doing at the same time. So don't jump into 5 or 6 different things and not know exactly what they are either. So take one, gain some experience, and then add. Now you have 2. Now you have 3. And maybe you get lucky and you have a core 4. So our goal tonight is just to help you guys understand a little bit more about what core 4 is all about. Learn a little bit more about what each of our leaders are on here are all about. They have their lives. They could be doing many other things with their time, but they choose to be here with us to help you as a core 4 community and beyond. So take advantage of this time that you have. Learn what this core 4 show is all about. It's very different. We're not here to report on a hype, which is a high yield investment platform. We're not here to report on some crypto platform and tell you what it's all about and blah, blah, blah. We're here to tell you a little bit about what's going on with the real world strategies that we're using here at Core 4, the good and the bad. So Coach India, she's down. Okay, great. Now what? I'm just glad that she's leading the team. There's accountability. Eric did 3 to 4%. Sometimes he does 10%. Is he down? No. Is it as high as it could be? No. But he went camping. So what is that? That's a heck of an opportunity to be able to make some money while you're enjoying yourself. Sounds a lot like retirement. So use the Core 4 to help you to build a better you. That's what I'm doing, and that's what everybody here at Core 4 is doing in the community at large. So without further ado, thank you guys for your time tonight. We've changed the show a little bit. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, but we were able to work through them. So I'd like to tell you guys, I love you whether you like it or not. I'll see you guys in the chats. Hopefully I answered some questions for some of you guys that were texting me, emailing me, and messaging me about a little bit more about what Core 4 is. Do that every week. We're transparent. We're open book. I want to be able to answer your questions and us to be able to have a great time. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good night.